Hi, my name is Lizzie, and today I'm going to tell you about some of my favorite podcasts. Now, as someone who works a 40-hour job, 9 to 6 most days, I spend a lot of time at my desk in an office with my headphones in. Sometimes I'm looking at a lot of numbers or doing things that I really know how to do really well, and my brain just functions better when there's something else going on, so I love listening to podcasts at work. I've noticed that my podcasts fall into 3 main categories, which are fiction, comedy, and true crime. Starting off with comedy, some of my favorite podcasts are Witch Please, Dear Hank and John, and You Made It Weird. Witch Please is a podcast all about Harry Potter. So of course I love it for that obvious reason, but it's also really funny and insightful, and I've learned a lot. They analytically analyze these books and movies in ways that I just don't think about things. It's the same way I love to tune in to Game of Thrones Book Club by practical folks because they look at things in a way that I don't normally do. I just kind of enjoy the story, but they really go in depth at the meanings behind it and the implications behind the words, and I really enjoy it. Dear Hank and John is actually Hank Green and John Green's podcast. If you don't know who they are, they're the Vlog brothers. They created VidCon. He's an author of books. How do you not know who they are at this point? They're also super funny, super nerdy. If you like watching their videos, you'll love listening to their podcast. They answer questions, they give dubious advice, and sometimes it gets a little dark, but not ever really seriously dark. They are funny and, again, insightful and meaningful, and I love them. My last comedy podcast that I always listen to is You Made It Weird, hosted by Pete Holmes. You Made It Weird is a sister podcast to the Nerdist podcast. It's kind of under that Nerdist umbrella, and it's hosted by Pete Holmes, and he just has celebrities, comedians on, and they talk about life, they talk about whatever. I recently listened to the one that he did with Bo Burnham, and I love Bo Burnham, and he's such a weirdly insightful. I've used insightful so much. It's just great learning about other people's views on life and hearing their stories, and they're all hilarious because they're all comedians. So I love that podcast. On to my next genre of podcasts, which is true crime, my current obsession. I've always been really interested in it, and I love learning about it. So my coworkers recommended to me this podcast called My Favorite Murder. It sounds really morbid, and it kind of is. They recant some of their favorite unsolved murders or just weird murders. Every week they kind of have a theme. They've kind of stopped doing that, but there's a lot of episodes for you to binge. If you're the kind of person who gets cringy and doesn't like hearing stories about murder, then obviously you don't want to listen to My Favorite Murder. It may have made me a little more paranoid than I already was about getting murdered or kidnapped or something, but since I'm paranoid about it, I'm aware. I think it helps me in the end. My other true crime podcast that I'm going to recommend is called In the Dark, and I just started listening to this yesterday. I'm on episode 3. It's a lot like Serial in the way that it's told. It's all about one case of this child being abducted, and I really love it so far. And lastly, my other favorite genre of podcasts is fiction. Now, I didn't even think about this being a possibility when I started listening to podcasts, because my introduction was YouTuber podcasts or the Nerdist, a bunch of interviews. It's like you're listening to a TV show that you don't have to watch. It's actually a radio show. We've gone back in time, but it's just digital now. One of the ones I listened to is called Limetown. It was actually recommended to me by some of you guys. Hey, shout out Ray and Michael. It's great, but the season ends in a very big cliffhanger, and I don't know if we're ever gonna get a season 2, so just prepare yourself for that, but it was a great journey. The next one I'm gonna recommend is called The Message. I forced James to listen to this with me for a second time because it was so good, and it's very short and concise. The episodes are 10 or 15 minutes long, and it has one complete season, no cliffhangers. You listen to it, and then it's over, and you're satisfied. And James, you liked it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Real good.
Real good. The Message and Limetown are both very sci-fi-y, mysterious, kind of a thriller, but not scary. And then there's Tanis. Tanis is very mysterious, very thriller. You don't know what the heck is going on or what is happening, and then something happens and you're like, whoa, that's what that was this whole time? Tanis is one you kind of have to pay more attention to because you just miss so much. You have to pay attention to the people and the things that the guy is learning and the things that you're hearing and that they're reading, and that it's a lot to take in. I have gotten confused multiple times when they have a big revelation and then I'm like, wait, who was that? Who said that? The sister podcast to Tanis is kind of co-starring the same people, and they're produced by the same company. It's my favorite podcast to date, and it's called The Black Tapes. Now, The Black Tapes is perfect for Halloween because it's scary as shit. It's about demons, it's about ghosts, it's about exorcisms. Like, it's like supernatural in a podcast, but not fun and like goofy with cute boys. It's like scary. The sound design on Tanis and The Black Tapes is just so good. It feels real, and I have to listen to it while I'm at work because there's people surrounding me. It's very brightly lit. I can be distracted by other things and convinced that this stuff isn't real because it really feels real. So those are my podcast recommendations if you have a long flight or a commute. This really helped my commute when we used to live far away from work. Or if you are at work and you just kind of have like a day-to-day task that you always do that you need something else to get you through mentally, podcasts really help me. Audiobooks help me. I hope you enjoyed. Don't get too scared. Listen to the comedy ones and the scary ones interchangeably to keep your mood balanced. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, bye!